All right, so we got everything secure here. This is locked. We're plugged in. Oh, hey, we're getting ready for a little ATV ride here, and I just got the Polaris General loaded up. We're ready to go, and I'd like to talk just for a couple of minutes about loading ATVs and snowmobiles and how to strap them down, how to secure them. Let's get to it. All right, here we are. We got the General on the trailer, and I'm just getting ready to get the straps on it. And I noticed something when I was getting ready for the ride, that my straps were not looking so good. What you want to do is pick a strap that's capable of handling the weight. Now, you might think that, like for instance, the cheapest straps that you can buy, there's what they call a working load limit, which is the constant load that you would expect to put on a strap. If you take your working load limit and you multiply it by 3, that gives you the maximum or the braking strength of the strap. And vice versa, if you know your braking strength, then you can divide that by 3 and come up with a decent working load limit. These are the straps that I was using right here. And this is a 1-inch strap. Typically 1-inch straps are capable of up to about 1,000 pounds for the working load limit. When you look at a strap to decide when to replace it, you want to make sure that the entire strap is free of nicks and abrasions, and you don't want them to be melted. All of those things, any imperfection in the strap, right here is an area where that's definitely worn. Now, you think, well, that's not a big deal. I mean, maybe a little bit, but you don't know. Okay, so one thing I know for sure, and that is that the strength of this strap is not what it used to be because of this wear mark. And because these straps are, when I'm using these straps for this ATV, because the straps are so close to their limit already, I have no idea. I can't rely on this strap to keep this machine tied down. Now there's an organization, a governmental entity called the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. And this group is pretty much responsible in the United States for defining, requirements and guidance for commercial transport services. But it affects the rest of us too. And what they say is general guidance for what a tow vehicle is capable of exerting on the cargo, okay? And they talk about G loading, or G's. Now 1G is the force of gravity. In other words, in this case, this Polaris General weighs about 1,500 pounds dry. So 1G is 1,500 pounds. So when you accelerate, maximum acceleration from a tow vehicle, they figure around 0.85 Gs, or 85% of the weight of this. So 85% times 1,500 pounds. That's what they expect to have as a general rule, a steady pressure when you're accelerating. Braking power is 0.5 Gs, or half the weight. In other words, in this case, 750 pounds. If those things get too close to the limit, you can end up with straps that stretch, for one thing, which is probably just as dangerous as a strap that breaks, or they just outright break. And especially when you're under tension, when you're under acceleration or deceleration, if you hit it, if something were to happen to the vehicle, and suddenly now, maybe let's say, what if the trailer goes off onto the shoulder and gets sucked down into the ditch? Well, now you're not dealing with 0.5 Gs or 0.85 Gs or whatever. You're dealing with a couple of Gs maybe, or more if you're at highway speeds. So now you're dealing with a much higher pressure, and that's where that braking strength really comes in. You need everything that you can get. There is no such thing as a strap that's too strong. There's only straps that are too weak. So what I did was these are 1.5-inch straps, and they're good for 1,700 pounds of working, a working load limit of 1,700 pounds or so. I'll put it on the screen. But I'm not going to show you the brand because it doesn't matter. These happen to be a name brand, but you can get, go anywhere, 1.5-inch strap. So because these are 1,700 pound straps, now I'm starting to get into a strap that's strong enough to hold on to this thing even if something bad happens. So I could go another step further, and I'm sitting on it, but another step would be this strap right here. And I've got a set of these, and these are 2-inch straps. These have a working load limit of 3,300 pounds. So that's not braking strength. What would the braking strength be if this was a 3,300 pound working load limit? 3 times that, right? So we're looking at 9,900 pounds braking strength for this. That's pretty strong. And we're getting into something that really, really means business, especially when you're hauling UTVs like this or bigger. All right, so let me talk about one other thing here before I wrap up this video, and I want to appreciate your patience while I go through this. I think it's very important. These are things that most people don't consider when they're loading something. And I've got one more for you. All right, as you can see, my trailer here is a tandem axle, so it's a little more forgiving than a single axle trailer. You can kind of see where the general is placed on the trailer. Now, if you're dealing with snowmobiles are pretty well, the center of gravity is pretty close to the center of the machine. And the same thing with ATVs. ATVs are, the weight is in the center between the wheels. Okay, but with a UTV like this, all the weight is back here. Here's the engine. The majority of the weight is well behind the front wheels. It's way back, so here's the center of the machine. The center of gravity is way back here. It's right here. So you want the center of gravity far enough forward that it doesn't take weight off of the tongue. Now, the general guidance on weight distribution is on the tongue, you want 10 to 15% of the weight. It's easier to calculate this than you think. A trailer that's unloaded is balanced, has the right amount of weight on the tongue. You want that same balance when it's loaded. So you always want 10 to 15% of the weight on the tongue. Now, I've got a General here that weighs 1,500 pounds. What's 10% of it? 150 pounds, right? So I want an additional 150 pounds at least on the tongue. So what I generally do is I make sure that the center of gravity of the machine is roughly in the center of the wheels here. Now, if you've got a single set of wheels, then you want that, again, you want that center of gravity probably just ahead of wherever the wheel is. So if I've just got a single wheel axle, and the center of gravity is about where the engine is here, then I want to make sure that that engine is sitting pretty much right above that wheel. Okay, in this case, I just want to make sure that engine is in between the wheels, because that's generally where the center of gravity, that's where the center of this trailer is. So that engine is pretty much the center of gravity for the vehicle. I want that pretty close to that, and then I know I've got enough weight on the tongue. If the General is too far forward, it's not a big deal for me. But if it's too far backwards, I've got a problem. Because if this trailer starts to shimmy, I've got handling issues, and especially if I'm on gravel or snow and ice, you know, if it's in the middle of winter, or if there's not enough weight on the tongue, that trailer could turn me around. And it can be a very dangerous situation. It's surprising how fast that happens. You think, oh no, I'll be on top of it. No, you won't. Hey, I hope that helps some of you, and maybe you learned something here. I hope you did. thanks for watching. And this winter, I hope I see you on the trail.